Hi everybody, and welcome back to Life Cues Week 29. I know some of you have been wondering if I'm going to continue to do these, and I certainly am. I know we're just a little bit behind, but we're going to catch up. I've just been dealing with some health issues, but don't worry, we're going to get all 52 weeks completed come hell or high water. So for this week's prompt, I was just doing some searching around YouTube, watching some of my favorite subscriptions, and I came across Jan at What You Make It One on YouTube, and she had just done a mini called Why Do You Scrapbook? And I thought that would make an excellent prompt for Life Cues, except I've just gone ahead and changed one of the words. Instead of why do you scrapbook, why do you create? So this week's prompt is why do you create? So let's get started. Hey everyone, so here's my finished page. But before I show you the elements on the page, I wanted to share with you a couple of things that I use in my art journaling that just make the job just a little bit easier to do. First of all, I want to show you this very messy container. This is my paintbrush cleaner, and I got it at an art supply store for $6. It's called the Silicone Brush Cleaning Tank. And what you do is you just take your dirty brushes, like this one you saw me using with the gesso, and you run it across the silicone bars. You can see them on the side there, and it cleans them amazingly well. Even with your finest, more delicate paintbrushes, it will clean them thoroughly without damaging the bristles. So what I just usually do is just rub it around on those silicone bars, and then I just take a piece of paper towel, squeeze the water out of it, these foam brushes, right into the container, and then just, oops, that one's fallen apart a little bit, but it still can be used again. So then I just soak up the excess moisture in the paper towel, and it's just amazing the life you can get out of some of these foam brushes. I just keep my jar filled with water because all the sediment drops to the bottom until it gets really, really grungy, and then I just dump it down the sink and rinse it out and refill it again. The next thing I wanted to share with you is my journaling pen. I like to do my journaling with the ultrafine Sharpies. I think they are awesome, and they write better than any other journal writer I've ever used, and they've upped it one better now. They've got a retractable ultrafine Sharpie, so it kind of works like a ballpoint pen, and I absolutely love it. It's the one that I used on my page today, and I usually use the other one, but I tend to leave the caps off and they kind of dry out on the end. But if you're looking for a journal writer, and if you've searched and haven't found one that you like, I highly, highly recommend ultrafine Sharpie markers, especially the new retractable one. So those are my two little tips for today. So now I'll share with you the elements I used on my page. Why I create. First, some of the things I used on the page were just kind of leftover stuff. I'm having an annual Christmas craft sale that we hold in my house every year, and so I just finished using lace and buttons and things like that to decorate some really pretty vintage candles. And so I just wanted to reuse and repurpose some of the elements that normally would have been garbage. So for my background there, I used one of those bags I'm sure a lot of you have, and I just tore it. It was a bag that I was trying to make a label in, and it didn't quite work out. So I thought rather than throw it away, I'll use it as background. And I just tore it and used it as in a collage, and then I took Adirondack Espresso paint and just dabbed it along where all the tears were on the page. And the next thing I did is I took a piece of paper and ran it through my Big Shot. It was the top note die, and so I created like a mask, and I just laid it on my page with removable adhesive, and then I used gesso and just painted it and then lifted it off, and it created a journaling block, which is kind of neat. And then I took the Sharpie and put some stitch marks all around it. Then I had this tiny little canvas, and I sort of inked the edges with that Adirondack paint again. And then I took my Stampin' Up! Stamp set. It's kind of like American typewriter font. I really like that stamp set. And then the new little tiny punch set. There's 3 punches in the set. And I punched out with the flowery one, Why I Create. And then with, for the top surface, I just used a piece of bubble wrap, dipped in that paint again, and then I put it over the top and then kind of over the sides of the journaling as well. And I inked up that piece of cheesecloth. The flower at the bottom there, if any of you are Stampin' Up! Reps or ever have been, you know when they send their packaging, they always send so much of that brown paper, and I just cannot throw it away or recycle it anymore. So I've decided to make flowers out of it. So I used a Tim Holtz die and created a flower, and then I sprayed it with some of that Adirondack Color Wash paint and in espresso, and then I dabbed it with the white dabber paint, and so it made a really cool shabby chic looking flower. And then I made some little tiny flowers out of some buttons that were left over from those candles, and I had some flower stems in the garbage, you know, the green wire stuff, and attached it to that. And then I made some leaves out of some remnants of lace, and again dabbed everything in that same paint and ran a little strip of lace across the bottom, and then I stamped the word bliss in the white Adirondack paint, and so that kind of completed the page. And then I dabbed all the way around the whole page with the Adirondack paint. So why I create. My journaling reads, why I create. For me, creating is just something that I have to do. It's a drive within me, a real need, like eating, breathing, resting. It's a must for my survival. At the end of the day, if what I create brings joy or enjoyment to others, then that's an extra bonus. So there's my page and why I create, and I really can't wait to hear the reasons why you create and do what you do. And thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.